The Independent Electoral Commission has announced that it will urgently approach the Electoral Court to postpone 8 by-elections scheduled for tomorrow due to the implementation of Level 4 lockdown restrictions. Now, this has further cast doubt on whether the country will be able to hold free and fair elections in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic. IEC Chief Executive Sy Mamoblo appeared before the inquiry into ensuring free and fair local government elections during COVID-19 that started off yesterday, and it is led by former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke. That commission will continue to, the inquiry will continue to hear submissions for the rest of the week before it compiles a final report to be handed to the Electoral Commission by the 21st of July. And among those expected to make submissions are political parties, medical experts, as we saw some yesterday, civil society organizations, and former IEC Deputy Chairperson and founder of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Tselane, joins us now for his perspective on these developments. Tselane, good to see you again. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to you and to your viewers.
So it's an unprecedented situation that we are currently dealing with. We've all come to know what the devastating impact is of COVID-19. But what's your own assessment as South Africa seems to still be in limbo as to whether or not we should go to elections?
I think it has become clear to everyone that the current environment is very, very difficult and really not conducive to free and fair elections. And I think the fact that the Electoral Commission will be approaching the Electoral Court about the postponement of the current by-elections that are supposed to be taking place, it's a clear demonstration that indeed the situation is very difficult. The pandemic is wreaking havoc in our country. And there is absolutely no way that we can ignore it and continue as though it is business as usual.
So if we take the inquiry, it seems to be premised mainly on whether the elections will be free and fair. So why is that, in your view, the overarching concern for this inquiry?
Because I think there is an assumption that the IEC, because it has been running the election over many years, it's got the technical capability to administer the elections. And therefore, the question is not whether the IEC has got the capacity to administer and manage these elections, but whether the citizens and political parties are able to exercise their rights as contained within the Bill of Rights or within the Constitution. And then focusing on whether the elections are free and fair, clearly it's a focus on an important aspect, because as you may be aware, that in terms of the Constitution, the Commission has got 3 responsibilities. One is to organize, manage, and administer the elections. The second responsibility is to ensure that those elections are free and fair. And the last one is to declare the results of those elections within a reasonable period. Now, obviously, because of the pandemic, it is becoming very difficult to be able to say whether the Electoral Commission will be able to meet its obligation of ensuring free and fair elections under the current circumstances.
So the political parties, understandably, are quite anxious. We've heard their views. Some feel that we should go to elections. Some feel no. The IFP, for example, have said we should postpone it by a year, perhaps. The EFF talking about perhaps amalgamating your local government and your general elections. Julius Malema on record saying that there will be no free and fair elections in South Africa without the important component which is campaigning. So if you can maybe just explain to us, what's the relationship between campaigning and free and fair elections?
Campaigning and canvassing for support, it's a critical element in the electoral processes. And it actually starts with registration, because as you know that the elections are won or lost during registration. So if political parties are not able to gather or they are not able to canvass for support and then also not able to mobilize people to go to the registration stations, it means that will actually curtail their capacity to get the support during an election. And if a person is not registered, if your supporters as a political parties are not registered, there is no way that they're going to be participating in the electoral processes. So this is a critical element in the preparations for the elections. Political parties must be able to exercise their rights, but not only political parties, but citizens as well. They must be able to evaluate the messaging that is coming from the different political parties, and on the basis of that, be able to make a decision in terms of which political party or candidate they want to support. And under the current circumstances where it is not possible to listen to a political party, it is difficult also for the citizens to be able to make up their minds about which political parties to support or not to support.
And Terry, just finally, we heard Sy Mamoblo, the chief executive of the IEC, saying that they are not hell-bent on holding these elections at whatever cost, but obviously pointing out that there would need to be some constitutional amendments that would need to take place. Then we heard Justice Moseneke saying that the final report will be handed to the Electoral Commission by the 21st of July, before the date of the proclamation of the local government elections by the minister. Does that, however, in your view, allow enough time for government to make a good, informed decision ahead of the proclamation, and let alone the fact that we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and what sort of havoc it could yet sow?
I was encouraged by the presentation by Sy Mamoblo yesterday, and I think the fact that he indicated the Commission is not going to be just proceeding with the elections in spite of the issues that have been raised with Justice Moseneke's committee. So I think that is a very important point. But the difficulty is, if registration proceeds on the 17th and 18th of July, various milestones then kick in, and it's going to be extremely difficult. And unfortunately, a registration weekend has been earmarked to take place before the submission of the report. So it's one of the issues that I will be raising today with Justice Moseneke's committee.
Well, we'll leave it there and look forward to hear your submission this morning. Thank you so much, Terry Tselane, founder of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa and also former deputy chairperson of the IEC. So we'll keep development